Well, that was great, and I think it segues into what I'd like to talk about. I'm back. I'm Chase Howard. I'm the lawyer again. But as I mentioned earlier, I don't want to scare you this time, right? It's the last session of the day. You guys are going to go out and have a good time now and then get into some more fun stuff tomorrow. So I wanted to shift a little bit from the scary legal threats and the hurdles and turn it more into opportunity, right? How many of you are exploring bringing aesthetics into your practice or starting a new aesthetics practice today? Okay, and then how many, I guess the rest of you are already in practice or already offering it, right? So that brings opportunity, right? From a startup standpoint, you have the whole world open to you as far as where you're going to go, what you're going to offer. From those of you that are already offering, right, it's adding to it and then looking at the next steps as well. So I was doing some research last night, trying to get some stats. These could be accurate, they maybe not, who knows, but I don't know who's tracking these things. There's nearly 11,000 med spas nationwide, and that doesn't necessarily include dental practices specifically that offer it or medical offices that offer it. The industry is growing significantly year over year. I saw a number, $17 billion. Maybe it's accurate, maybe not. I recall back in like 2018, when I was first getting started in working with aesthetics clinics, that number was like $2 billion. So I guess I could believe that. I mean, there's so many clinics now, there's so many new treatments. The growth has just been unbelievable. And then that means, hundreds of thousands of employees nationwide that are working in this space. Largely, these clinics are owned by individuals. Private equity is not really taken over, but they're coming, right? And so from an opportunity standpoint, what can you do as far as growth? So have a plan. Create a vision, whether you're a startup or you're in practice and business already and you're looking towards the future. You've seen so many people talk about it today, how to increase patient volume, how to add to your services, right? Create a vision. What do you want your brand to look like and what do you want it to be, right? And with that obviously comes legal hurdles and issues. We talked about some of those threats before, right? So to tie it back in, if there's a new treatment, who can do it? Who can perform it? How do you create a new protocol to make sure that you're seamlessly integrating it into your clinics now and not running into hurdles of, I've got the wrong person doing it, I don't have the right licensure, I've got competitors making complaints, I've got patient complaints, right? So create that vision and create a plan with it. Share it with the key people around you, right? Whether it's a spouse or your partner in the business, whether it's your consultants, right? Talk to them about what your plan is, put it on paper and start to work towards it, right? Or maybe build that plan and then work backwards from it. We talked about threats and weaknesses, right? It's important to identify them. I encourage you to audit yourself, right? Or have someone do it from the outside. Have someone come in and act as though they're a patient and see everything about how you operate from the time that they interact with your socials, with your website, from the time that they step into your clinic, all the way through payment, right? What did they like about it? What did they miss? What did you miss about it, right? Did you give them fee proposals? Did you give them quotes about what they're getting? Did they get their consent forms? Figure out where your weak spots are so that when you try to enact your vision, you know what you need to work on, you know what you need to address. Addressing those protocols and procedures annually. Look at it. Take a look at what you have, what you've added in the last year, where you're missing, where you have your holes, and create what you need to create in order to make sure that going forward, you have a streamlined process, you have everybody in line, your staff is all on the same page about how you operate, how you treat people, what happens if there's an issue, what happens if there's a patient complaint. Patient policies, same thing. You've added new services. Are there consent forms for that? And do your consent forms actually tell the patient what it is that they're receiving, what the risks are of those treatments, what the benefits are, what the alternatives are, right? Again, we're still dealing with patients. This is still healthcare. It's not simply just a sale. So you still have to have those elements in your consent forms to ensure that you're actually getting the consent from the patient. They're fully informed about it, and you can move forward with the treatments. And then key contracts. Can you revisit anything and renegotiate it, right? A year ago to today, maybe your volume on prescriptions has changed, right? Maybe you've ordered more from a supplier, from a vendor, right? what types of financial benefits can you get from the growth of your practice or your clinic over the last year. And then exit plans, right? So some of you this may be it, right? This is your company, this is your business, you're going to do this until you're done, and that's it. At some point, something's going to happen, right? You're going to want to retire, you're going to want to hire somebody else, or you're going to want to sell, you're going to want to capitalize on what you've created. And I will tell you, private equity and investment bankers are coming into the world of medical spas and aesthetic clinics, right? The medical world, physician-based practices have been gobbled up. Dental practices largely have been gobbled up by private equity investment bankers. Medical spas are next. But what are they looking for, right? And how can you plan for that next step? Again, all of those hurdles and threats we've talked about, having an eye for those, eliminating those, or being proactive with them first and foremost, because you want to have these streamlined processes, and you want to have a business and a practice that is clean and clear, so when somebody comes to buy you, right, you don't have the issues, the skeletons hiding in the closet. That will severely diminish your value. So what are these groups looking for? Generally, multi-site, multi-million-dollar operations, right? For some of you, maybe you're there. For others that are starting out, wow, how am I ever going to get there? You will get there. Put the time in, put the effort in, continue to do these things. But that's generally what they look for. A single location, maybe that's kind of new. There's some opportunities there, maybe from a owner-to-owner, provider-provider perspective. Private equity, maybe not. Investment banking, maybe they can come in and then help take you to the next level. But if you're not at that level, what they're looking for, again, is a streamlined process, a sophisticated business owner who has these policies and procedures in place, but maybe needs help in some other ways. So focus on that plan, focus on your vision, build it, and if you're looking for it, there's brokers out there, there's people out there that can help you take it to the next level as well. A couple things when you're planning these exits or when you're planning this growth, and I should have titled it maybe growth, but talking to people in a certain way, right? So for your staff members, right, you may not want all of your staff members to know from day one, right? Because that may scare some people, right? Private equity, we're looking to sell, right? And that may impact maybe your injectors that are working with you, right? At some point, you're going to communicate it with them, but you want to do it in the right way, and you want to make sure you find the right partner first or the right buyer first before you actually maybe scare staff or change things up. You want to go through that process because ultimately, you could go through a whole due diligence process, a whole conversation about buying or selling, and it fall through. And if you've told everybody about it, right, you don't want your staff to then be running off looking for a new job because they're scared of what's coming. Be a little bit more secure in where you're at first, and then bring it up to them with actual details of it, right? Negotiate on behalf of your staff. Talk to the potential buyers or new partners about what's important to you. And if your values don't align, then certainly you're not going to go that way. Identify your team. So, I think in any case when you're going to make a major, growth or sale, right? Team members, someone who can help you from a financial perspective, someone who can ensure that your, clinic finances are in order, your accountant, attorneys, right? A little self-serving, but there's going to be legal documents to review, and you're going to want to make sure that the deal is actually what you intend it to be. Financial planner, like I said, making sure that it's the right move for you financially. And then maybe having a management team or consultant team to advise you, along the way as well. And then what's the process look like? So, planning first and foremost, right? Deciding that you have this vision, putting it in place, building it, and then seeking out interest. Interest may come to you, or you go to somebody and you post it out there, right? Whether it be a broker or whether it be somebody in the industry, finding others. Talking about initial terms, finding out if you have something in common, and then deciding to move forward from there with due diligence, right? They're going to want to dive into what your business looks like. They're going to want to see financials. They're going to want to see services, patient reports. They're going to want to know from a regulatory standpoint, do you have everything in order? And that goes back to kind of the first talk about threats, right? If you don't address those things early on and you have, again, potential legal issues, licensure issues, scope of practice issues. I've seen it. I had a client with 18 locations nationwide who came to me and said, hey, we're selling, we want you to represent us. But the buyer got into everything and realized, wow, you're not operating in compliance with all of these state laws. So they've had to totally revamp how they operate. It's obviously cost them money. It cost them their deal. But now they're doing things right. So if they had positioned themselves earlier on, been a little bit more proactive, certainly that would have been an opportunity for them. So you get into due diligence. You'll see more legal documents. You get into more due diligence. And then you get to a closing and then new beginnings at some point. So the process, although it's 10 minutes up here on the stage, it certainly could be months and months, or it even could be years in advance. And so I think that's my sort of pitch to you is everything you've seen today, not just from me, but from others here, what you're learning, take it to heart, go back home, implement it. And make sure that you're building, towards your vision, and at some point these opportunities come forward, whether it be continued growth and expansion internally with you, or with new partners, or eventually, a sale from there. So that's what I have today. I wanted to keep it kind of sweet and short as far as what we're focusing on. Got the scary stuff out of the way. Again, I'm here for a little bit. Questions if anybody has any, but otherwise, it's really been a pleasure to be here. Thank you.